Well, of course.
Thank you.
So, anyway.
And I miss you.
I have people like that that work for me.
Hey, dude, you're driving me crazy. I want to know what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but, so.
Wow.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah.
Is it good for your workout?
For sure. Absolutely. One of them high energy, high temp things.
Hey, that's like those Mondays.
Right.
You know, that Monday workout.
Yep. Although I've been on light duty lately because of my surgery. But
How's
I'm,
Wyatt?
I showed you the picture.
Yeah.
It's nasty. Obviously, it's nasty, but he learned a good lesson. But I have to tell you that story. His first story was yeah, lit a match 'cause
I'm trying for you.
he said I was just waving it like this, trying to put it out, and it lit the fumes off of the top of the bottle. And it doesn't work. You're talking to a guy that's studied fuel for a good portion. It doesn't
My
work.
hair was down to here.
And anyway, so he goes through and he says this big story. And I said, okay, so you're telling me that you just waved it over the
o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Also, remind her about the climber. Because the last time I was there, the climber.
yes, that's a good point.
Oh, yeah, so we don't have to worry about it.
Got it. All right, good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started, okay? Call this meeting to order. We will begin, of course, with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, now we'll do roll call. Mr. Bramlett is absent. Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Mrs. Nelson?
Present.
Mrs. Myers?
Hi.
Mrs. Benefield?
Here.
I am here. Mrs. Ramlow?
I'm here.
Mr. Reagan? Mrs. Ebbets?
Here.
All right, we have a quorum, so we can continue on. So, we'll begin with the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, August the 26th. I entrust that everyone had time to read those minutes, and if you have any comments you would like to make regarding the minutes as far as adjustments, please make that known now. Otherwise, Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion we approve the minutes.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none opposed, that carries. Okay. So, one thing, I know we normally go into open to public, and absolutely, we will do open to public, but I feel like probably the majority of everyone, all that are here, are probably here for one particular item on new business, and it might be prudent for us to move that new business item up forward. That way, we discuss it, and that way we don't have a lot of back and forth, because full disclosure, I'm not even sure of the item here. I'm not the details of it. So other than what I've read and heard, so I think Mr. Campbell, that was your request. So if it pleases the board, and you can just all kind of give me I guess, we would need a consensus, but if you think it would make sense to do that, that way we don't have a bunch of back and forth over limited information, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, does everyone feel pretty comfortable with that? If not, say, no, it's okay, whatever you prefer. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I think that will make the best use of our time is my main point. Okay, so that being said, then I'm making a motion to move H3 above open to the public, and we'll go from there. So do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none opposed, we move H3 before open to public. All right, so that being said, seeing that it is your item that you have requested to be on the agenda today, Mr. Campbell, would you go ahead and proceed and explain?
All right, thank you, Chair. So this, a lot has happened since our last meeting, August 26th. That being September 10th, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. I feel that at the same time, we also had the book page was told we're not going forward with that subscription anymore. And I feel that the funds for that, which some of it was going to go back into purchase of new books, anyways, and for the copy paper side of it too, I feel that we could take a look at possibly doing a memorial for the Charlie Kirk assassination. We could leave it in place, for any time of period. I'm leaving it open, for discussion on that. And I do think that October would be the ideal time to have that set up. Not just for, for people who supported him, but those who didn't know who he was. He claimed to have read over 100 books a year, and a lot of those books can range from, his faith and religion, Christian ideology, but also some of the books that he wrote. So I think just being able to have that out there for everybody to be able to experience can let them know who he was as a person, an individual, and a father. So that's where I'd like to go with that, open a discussion and just get everybody's thoughts. I think that should be something that we should do for our community, and I think we would have a lot of support on that.
Okay, so just for clarification, what you're saying is you think that a portion of the funds from BookPage is what you're saying?
I think we do have some of the books already available through
Okay.
the library. If we would need to purchase additional books and or explore some of the books that we don't have, I think we could take a look at those options. And you never know, there could be someone that decides in the community to help donate towards that. I don't know. So I'm just opening it up. I'm leaving it open for the community and to see what we can do, come together on this.
Okay, and so from what I'm gathering from you is you're actually wanting more of a discussion about it.
I want to actually move forward. I think the discussion can be how we can how we can present it to the public. But I do want to have a memorial or something put up that we could set up going towards that.
Okay, so my question is, the reason why I'm asking is because technically speaking, we would have to create a motion, and then from that motion, whether it has a second, and then we open it up for the public to speak, and so on. So my question on that is, so you said a memorial, but you also mentioned a display. In my mind, that's two different things. A memorial is more like regarding like I don't know, like I'm sorry.
Kind of like an icon or
Right.
statue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we could do. I think we could do more of a display. I think I know there's different displays that get put up in the library throughout the year. For 4th of July, for Christmas, Thanksgiving, etc. But I think we could do something. A display for Charlie Kirk around the month of October that showcases the books that he wrote or the books that he recommends.
Okay.
Mr. Strickland.
Yes, sir.
Can I speak?
Absolutely.
Where are the funds now?
So that's a good point. So book page, of course, that was around $3,300, correct? Something like that, if my memory serves me correctly. Now, Director Chang, I don't recall, but I believe I'm correct in that you were directed by the BOCC how to redistribute those funds. Is that correct?
There were some suggestions by the Board of County Commissioners at their budget hearing when they were talking about book page. They specifically had mentioned 3 things. I was able to kind of adjust 2 of those things based on the book page funds. One of the suggestions was that we print more items in-house, as far as instead of having book page, we have handouts for the public.
Right.
So I allocated some money for that. About $1,000 went into that item. And then another suggestion by the board, or a comment by the board, was that the holds list for digital materials is too long. They want to see that number decrease. And we have gotten a lot of public comment about the holds list for digital materials being quite long. So the remaining funds I shifted into that section. So it's for digital materials to reduce those hold limits. And then I didn't put any money in reducing the cost of printing, because that was one of the other things that a board member suggested at the Board of County Commissioners, was reducing the cost of printing for everybody. It's currently set at 15 cents for black and white. So I didn't really do much with that one. But those are the 3 suggestions that they had made. And based on those suggestions, I did react to those and allocate that money there.
Okay.
So how much did you allocate for the second one that you mentioned, the holds?
So $2,300. So $1,000 for printing, and then $2,300 for digital collection. It certainly won't solve the challenges we have with the holds list being so long, but it does give us a little bit more ability to do that. Combined with losing interlibrary loans as well, it kind of helps in that area too.
Okay. So based on that, it sounds like you've already put that back into the budget in a certain.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, okay. So I think we have enough that the public is informed. Do we feel the public is informed enough to go ahead and open for the public, and then we can entertain a motion or whatever the case is afterwards?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So seeing I have a general consensus, we're going to go ahead and open to public. Now, first of all, open to public. Number one, just a reminder, when you come up here, you have to have a green card filled out. Main thing is the green card's got to be filled out before you leave, okay? It needs to be turned in to Taylor so that she can have a record. In addition to that, you have 3 minutes. Everybody has 3 minutes. There is a warning up there on the little timer that'll kind of give you an idea when you're winding down. Everybody will have their 3 minutes. We're not going to cut anybody short or whatever the case is. I do ask you that you maintain decorum. Absolutely zero outbursts from the crowd, from, no applause, shouts, jeers, all that stuff. Let's keep it very cordial. I'm not going to get into last meeting, but last meeting was unacceptable. And so as you may see, we have a deputy sheriff here, and she is there for our protection, all of our protection to serve. But also, if we have to, you have to be escorted out. She will have to do that. I'm sure she doesn't want to do that. Nobody wants that to happen. So I just ask you, just be cordial, come up here, exercise your free speech, speak from your heart,
And from that point, then we'll move on. Okay. You must come up, state your name and where you're from. Okay. There was some confusion by one person. A woman stated, that she was from Dunnellon. Well, there is an ample amount of Dunnellon that's in Citrus County. So just understand that when you get up there, or when you're in the crowd, we're not taking people from across the nation and having them come up here and speak. These are local town folk. These are people in the community that use Citrus County Library System. Okay. So that being said, I feel like I've covered it all. Have I missed anything? Maintain decorum, state your name, where you're from, make sure your green card's filled out, and everyone will have their 3 minutes to speak. Okay? All right. Do I have anybody that wants to be the first? I'm sure. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Marcy Mager, and I'm a resident of Citrus County. I live at Brentwood. I'm an enthusiastic supporter of public libraries and a grateful consumer of the many services our libraries provide. Public libraries are intended to provide a safe and welcoming space for all, a place of education, reflection, and often of celebration. And part of those functions are often the establishment of memorials, tributes, displays, and so forth. Right now, we are feeling upset, angry, remorseful, because tragically, a public person of influence has been assassinated. And it is understandable that we want to do something, especially when that person is young and charismatic. But memorials and tributes and displays are meant to honor a legacy, not a moment. And establishing a memorial should be done with care and reflection over time to determine the impact of that person's life and influence. Charlie Kirk's words and his work are supportive of some and disparaging of others. Right now, they're more divisive than unifying. Now, should his impact and legacy prove to be more positive and inclusive than they seem in this moment, we will have ample opportunity to honor it. So today, I respectfully request that the Library Advisory Board not establish a memorial in his name and honor. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Marcy. Next.
Good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. My name is Bob Pease. I live in the county. I've been here for about 22 and a half years. I live south of Inverness. I sent this by email to the board members yesterday, and I thought somebody persuaded me to come in and read it to you. I said, I don't consider myself any more patriotic than the next guy. My bloodline in North America extends back 390 years to the Great Migration. My ancestors fought in the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Civil War, and both World Wars. Many served their communities in public office. One signed the Declaration of Independence. I gave my country 6 years of service. I've always paid my taxes and obeyed the law. I'm a Christian, and I give to hungry people on street corners, and I help my neighbors whenever they need it. My children have matured into hardworking and responsible adults that I am proud of. My story is different, but no less important than millions of others. We all have stories. People behind me, everybody in the community have stories that tie us together in the fabric of America. But few of us are called patriotic. I don't understand why. I feel I must have done something wrong. Despite trying to be a good citizen, I will never be called patriotic. When I pass, my name will quickly be forgotten. No picture will grace the walls of any public building. nor will there be streets and parks named after me. Excuse me. But apparently there's an effort to eulogize Mr. Charlie Kirk in such a way. And I have to ask, what makes him different? I know he claimed to be Christian too, but he didn't serve the country or hold public office, so why is he called patriotic and I'm not? Maybe if I had said things like, we made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act, or Martin Luther King Jr. was an awful person. Or I could have said, yes, people die from gun violence, but that's just the price of freedom. Maybe if I'd urged division and tried to legitimize bigotry, or said black women do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken seriously, maybe that would have helped. But no, I've decided I never want to be a Charlie Kirk kind of patriot. I'd rather be kind, love my neighbor, and be a peace-loving guy, even if I don't get my name on some street sign somewhere. My patriotism will consist of honoring my country, accepting my countrymen even if they differ in their views from me, and saying things to others to bring a smile. I think that's a better kind of patriotism, excuse me, and that's why I think Citrus County can do so much better than to put our tax monies toward creating an honorarium for Charlie in public library. Extemporaneously, we pledged an allegiance to the flag that
Thank you, sir. Your time has expired. Next.
Hello, and thank you for presenting this. I'm Lori Pettengill. I live in Homosassa Springs, Florida, beautiful Homosassa Springs. I live in a neighborhood that I have a lot of homeless people, and it's getting a little better, but it's tough. And I live on a dead-end street with a big forest, and they come out of the woods on their little bikes, and they're about 30 to 45 years old. And I'm always saying to myself, what the heck is wrong? What is wrong? Why are these guys failing like this? And it's just been really, really hard for me since moving to Homosassa 8 years ago. I mentored a child. He was about 16 years old, and he was really floundering in high school. And I brought him to CPAC once, and the conservative convention, and he was a real conservative, in and out. He just couldn't help it, and he was failing in school. So I brought him to a CPAC, and I was 53, and we'd go our separate ways during the day, and we'd come back at night, and we'd eat dinner and talk about what the day was like. And he told me he met this guy named Charlie Kirk, and this was back 13 years ago, and that he was starting this turning point, and it really resonated with him. And he followed Charlie, and he benefited from Charlie's organization. And I thought that was just fantastic. But it wasn't my generation really, so I kind of walked away from it and never really looked back too much till more recently. If you don't mind, I'd like to read about another mentor that I really love, and that was my father. And my father, a guy that worked for my dad, he said, he wrote a letter to my mother after my dad had passed away, and he said, the first summer I worked at the shop, I was talking to Bob, and somehow we got talking about politics, and he said, here, you've got to read this book. From somewhere in his office, he dug up a copy of Conscience of a Conservative and told me to read it. I remember bringing it home and my parents being impressed that he would let me borrow that book. I purchased my own copy. That summer, I also read the Federalist Papers, and because of that, I've embraced the things that really matter: limited government, hard work, patriotism, faith, and the importance of family. I read that, and I said, wow, look at these are the books. The books that he's talking about, these are the books that Charlie was reading. Charlie, you know, those are the exact same things that Charlie espoused to hundreds of thousands of floundering young men in our country. I mean, he filled a stadium, and he filled not just one stadium, but they had to get a second stadium for the young men that he has influenced. And I think that,
Your
that
time has expired.
Charlie is and was amazing.
Next.
Hello, my name's Greg Hoying, Floral City. I don't know whether or not this board's aware, but just recently our governor, Ron DeSantis, approached the legislature and encouraged them to remove any impediment, in fact, encourage every school in our state to get a Turning Point charter. Now, like it or not, whether you agreed with Charlie Kirk or not, he never made speeches on what he believed, how things should be, or anything. All he did was debate. And this is the core of our First Amendment rights, and I think it should be encouraged in all our schools, in all our libraries. So we understand what our Constitution is about. And in that light, I encourage this board to have not only a memorial, but a display on what Charlie Kirk's life was all about. Thank you.
Next.
Good morning, board. My name is Ray Brown. I live in Homosassa. First, I would like to apologize for my behavior at the last meeting, not my finest moment. You as board members are to be responsible for spending our tax money, not spending it on a whim or being irresponsible. The money that you receive is not yours. Even though you may feel it's yours to spend, it is hard taxpayer money that shouldn't be spent recklessly. There are too many projects the library could use our hard-earned money on instead of a controversial magazine. Finally, a good judgment has prevailed and Bookpage will be canceled. Thank you, Brevard County Commissioners. People could find this out free without taxpayer money. If you can't save money here, what other monies are being spent recklessly without our knowledge? You need to be more responsible. Maybe you're not looking hard enough to save for those rainy days that you talk about. This is not your money. Stop coming to the taxpayers when you run out of money. As a taxpayer, I also want you to be account for the books that are going into our library. My wife loves the library and uses it all the time. She too wants accountability. We also would like to know if there's a list of books that go into the libraries and who is vetting those books. If you don't know, then why not? I worked in corporate America. I worked for a national chain of nursing homes and the Brevard County School Board. In the maintenance department, we were told toward the end of the year that we had to spend all our monies for the next year, or we would lose that funding. And of course, we spent it. I doubt things have changed in 30 years. We'd like you to stop that wasteful spending. Now, I understand that the board is looking to allocate that money somewhere else. But it sounds like you all could create another Bookpage just internally into the library. So how are those books going to be monitored, or a list? Charlie Kirk, who is an icon, he challenged people. And if we can't challenge people and ask them, let's debate about what you think, how you think, and where are we different? And let's see if we can come together and make, a meeting of the minds. We're not going to agree on everything, but I think something for Charlie Kirk, if not a memorial, a place in the library set up so that people can read his books.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Your time has expired.
You bet. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Lala Sanders from Inverness. And I appreciate the commissioners making a decision to cancel the book page annual subscription, and for all of you allowing me to express my reasons for canceling the magazine at the last meeting. Also, you may want to consider a refund for the last 3 months of subscription that will not be distributed in the library. Regarding Charlie Kirk, we are at a library advisory board. Charlie Kirk read books. He went to colleges and expressed those things. Putting a display in a library for Charlie Kirk is a big recommendation on my part, simply because I have fought in the same place about displays that shouldn't be displayed in the library. Charlie was very positive. He did not deserve to be murdered. He was a young, positive public figure and catered to our young people that are now our next generation. So I really, 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 really express to the board that a display is a display in the library. And we, like I said, we're in the library advisory board, and he loved reading books. So what is wrong with a display? And it doesn't cost anything to do that in a library. I would still love to see any books that are blurred out or can get strikes if we type or say out loud on Facebook or YouTube some of the sexual acts that you still consider for young adults to read that we can't even say publicly here, to be removed from the library when all of them can be found online. Thank you again for allowing me to speak my thoughts, and I do have to excuse myself because I have a meeting in Crystal River. So thank you, and I'll watch the rest of it online.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm not feeling great, so bear with me if you would. My answer to the question.
Excuse me. Name and where you're from.
I'm sorry. Rita Fox. I live in Brentwood in Lecanto. What better way to use the funds, Mr. Campbell asks. In my opinion, the best way to use library funds is for things that benefit everyone that uses the library. Not to memorialize anyone. And a few years ago, the hot topic was a display for, gays, LBG, with rainbows. And people went crazy because there were rainbows in the library. God makes rainbows. Everybody here loves God. I am opposed to memorial for Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to tell you why. I do not condone the violence that he was killed. I feel terribly sorry for his children and his wife. But when you preach hate, things like that are bound to happen. Charlie Kirk built himself into the face of a conservative youth movement through Turning Point USA. Behind the branding of patriotism and freedom, the records show a pattern of rhetoric, organizational culture, and alliances that echoed white supremacist and Christian national ideologies. On race, Kirk was blunt and dismissive. He denied the existence of systemic racism. He called white privilege a racist idea, and he vilified critical race theory as dangerous indoctrination. There's a lot more, but I'm trying to keep this brief. Kirk and Turning Point USA did not need to wear hoods, nor did they need to wave Confederate flags to advance the logic of white supremacy. By denying systemic racism and vilifying movements for justice and legitimizing extremists, Kirk and his organization reinforced the architecture of racial dominance in America. He positioned himself as a defender of liberty, but the liberty that he envisioned was conditional, anchored in whiteness, Christianity, and exclusion. His legacy is not simply conservatism. It is a record of advancing ideas and practices that aligned with white supremacy, even if he never wore the label himself. Kirk spent his career denying systemic racism while building a movement that normalized bigotry and courted extremists. In the end, the violence he rationalized and the racial fear he amplified converged in his own fate. That is the legacy this man left behind, a stark reminder that when a nation tolerates racism and violence as the price of liberty, both become self-perpetuating forces that consume
you. Your time has
even
expired.
their champions. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. Gary McClintock, Hernando, and I'm for the display for Charlie Kirk. I've been following him since he started, at least 10 years now, and you know, everybody's got their opinion. Like, you turn the news on, we hear sound bites, sound bites, sound bites. Sound bites can be anything you want. And the negative things I hear about Charlie Kirk, I never heard that. And I listened to him, and they didn't come out till after he died, and all of a sudden he said this, he said that. No, he didn't. That's not what he preached at all. And I think you should put that display up so the truth comes out about what the man really said. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning. I'm Steve Moline, and I live in Hernando. I would ask, first of all, that you suspend the reallocation of that funding until this is determined, to not proceed with spending it elsewhere. But I'm going to ask you a question. I spent almost 30 years working with education, information products, technologies that were used in schools. And I respect libraries, and I respect what the library system here does. But I would ask what the mission of the library system in Citrus County is. Do you have a mission statement? Are you clearly focused on what it is? I'm not saying you don't, but I do see already that you have ways to inspire learning in the library systems. You have displays, you honor certain months, certain days during the year. People that have lifted up this nation, for example, Martin Luther King Jr. I could list a lot of those people, but we need people in this country who lift up this nation rather than tear it down. And so much of what's going on today tears down this nation, tears down the people coming together. The library system can make that happen. In a positive way, I ask that we look at people, not just Charlie Kirk, because he did inspire millions of people, but look at people who inspire rather than tear down. The library system is something that taxpayers support, and I support it, and many people in this county do. There's a lot of money spent on it, and I think that's really important. But to inspire learning, to inspire the kinds of things that Charlie Kirk represented, he had read extensively. You could talk to him, and if you watch any videos online, you could talk to him on almost any subject in history of the world, and he would come back with an informed and inspirational answer. He did not tear down, he built up. So I would ask that you consider what you're displaying, and what kinds of things go on in the library, the people that are being honored, and that this be part of what the library system does as a mission, because it's already there. And I'm not looking at this specifically for Charlie Kirk. I'm saying in general, who inspires this country? He did. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Marissa Donato, and I'm from Hernando, Florida. And I am here to oppose having a Charlie Kirk memorial in our public library. The remaining funds should be put back into our community, especially now when we have over 20,000 people in Citrus County that are going to lose their SNAP benefits November 1st. There are 3,300 things we could do with that money to help our fellow neighbors, and putting up a memorial for a person, in my opinion, who profited from spewing hate and division is not one. However, the first speaker that was up here was talking about memorials that we do for people, and we do them once we see what their legacy has left to our country. And I understand the emotions are high because it was an awful tragedy what happened to Charlie Kirk. But I do think that, we need to really just think about it because, there's more than just people who are conservative and Christian in this community. And I think that it should be something that I think we could wait on. I really do think that the money should go back into the library. Just helping kids with backpacks or something. It's going to get really bad come November 1st. That's all I have to say. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next.
Hello. Hello, Adam. Hello, Edith. I know y'all because I'm a friend of the library, and I volunteer at the book sales.
Please state your name and where you're from.
I'm sorry. My name is Caleb. I live in Beverly Hills. I found out about the magazine just before the book sale that it was being closed or being discontinued. It was my understanding that the magazine was being discontinued because to some it had an agenda. It was political. It was woke. The books that were coming in did not align with our community. And so we got rid of it. And to replace it, we're asking to put up another political memorial for a political figure, something that's going to divide our patrons. And beyond that, this isn't a place for politics. This is, but the library isn't. It's a place to go and to read and not to be divided. It shouldn't be a debate on politics. If we got rid of one because it was on one side, why are we going to add in something else that's on the other? Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. Next.
My name is Virginia Owen. I've lived in Crystal River for 40 years. I went to the library when it was a tiny little building. Probably a lot of you people don't even remember that. I have two things I'd like to talk about. The first thing is the book banning that's been going on in this county. My opinion is if you don't want to read it, don't read the book. If you don't want to look at something on TV, turn the channel. But why are you saying I can't read the books that need to be in the library? Why are you taking my right away to read what I want? If you feel your children are going to read something that you're not happy with, then you need to supervise your children. That's what parents do. They supervise their children. That's my opinion on that. I'd also like to talk about this Charlie Kirk Memorial Shrine. He has plenty of books in our library already. We do not need to put up a shrine to someone who has spewed hateful rhetoric. I have some quotes for some people who said they never heard him say things. In April 2023, he said, "It's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every year so we can have our Second Amendment to protect this and our other God-given rights," and that is a quote. At the American Fest, he said Martin Luther King was, quote, awful, and he said King was, quote, not a good person. He also said, we made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act in the 1960s. This is hateful rhetoric. We do not need to be enshrining a person who says this. He also said some things about white supremacy. He was worried about people coming from other countries, replacing the white race. To me, we should have an inclusive country. That is what the United States stands like to me. We've always accepted everyone, whatever your color, whatever your race, whatever your religion, whatever your disabilities, we've accepted everyone. And now our country is turning into an exclusive country. We're excluding everybody. We're excluding books. We're excluding everything. Florida's supposed to be the free state. We have the freedom to vaccinate our children. We have the freedom to carry an AK-47 into Publix, but we don't have a freedom to read a book that someone else has banned. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Mike Blair. I live in Hernando, Florida. I'm speaking today in opposition to this memorial. Charlie Kirk was a free speech advocate, a father, a husband, and a Christian. He was also a provocateur. He made a career of saying things that most people get fired from their jobs for saying in the workplace. And he will say that Kirk's worst quotes, saying things like he wondered about the qualification of black pilots, that MLK was awful, or that black women needed to steal a white person's job in order to be taken seriously. Those were all taken out of context. But that's what he did for a living. He said things that were intended to make people mad. He didn't want a good faith debate or consensus. He wanted to own the libs. It's the way he made his living, and for people who want to stoke division in America right now, business is very good. It's a tragedy that violence has become what some see as the best solution to the frustration they feel about the state of our country. In 2022, a man went to the home of Speaker Nancy Pelosi. He wanted to, quote, question her, break her kneecaps if she lied, then roll her into Congress in a wheelchair as a warning to other Democrats. She wasn't home, but her husband, Paul, was. The attacker fractured his skull with a hammer. The person they want to commemorate here today, suggested that Paul Pelosi and the attacker might be in some sort of homosexual relationship, so that with no basis in fact. And he said, laughing and joking about the attack on the podcast, that, quote, if some amazing patriot out there in San Francisco or the Bay Area wants to really be a midterm hero, someone should go and bail this guy out. We live in a time of unprecedented political tension. What we need desperately is to find ways to agree on things, find community and fellowship with our fellow Americans. Celebrating a man who so enthusiastically sought to ridicule and incite the people he disagreed with politically does the opposite of that. Please do not approve this memorial. Thank you.
Next. Anyone else?
Good morning. My name is Joanne Messina, and I reside in Hernando, Citrus County. I thank the members of the board for their time, their dedication, and service to our beloved community and public libraries. Let me begin by condemning all political violence. The murder of Charlie Kirk was indeed a tragedy, and I offer my sincerest condolences to his family and followers. I understand political violence undermines the very foundation of democracy. It silences voices, breeds fear, and threatens the principles of free speech and civil debate that makes our society strong. When violence is used as a tool for political ends, it damages trust in institutions and makes it harder for communities to come together and solve problems peacefully. History teaches us that societies plagued with violence struggle to achieve justice, equality, and progress. I do not believe that memorializing Charlie Kirk is appropriate for our Citrus County public libraries. His ideas may have resonated with some members of our community, and they are grieving, but Charlie Kirk was not a member of our beloved community, and his legacy is yet to be established. Kirk's speech was often crude and hateful, and even suggested violence towards those he disagreed with. Our libraries already have his books in their collections, both print and e-books. Honoring figures such as Kirk can legitimize divisiveness and encourage further hostility. Instead, we should celebrate those who advocate for unity, empathy, and constructive dialogue. Our memorial should reflect the values we aspire to: compassion, respect, and peaceful engagement. If the board wants to create a memorial, they might consider our own Citrus County first responders for their service and dedication to our community. These are local men and women whose hearts and minds we already know. We recently lost 2 members of the sheriff's office who were resource officers. Perhaps these public servants deserve your attention. A vocal minority has repeatedly come before this board, casting aspersions on those they disagree with. Their efforts have resulted in our public libraries no longer having pride displays. They seek to limit access to materials they don't like or understand. They use fear and seek to control and manipulate the public and this board to do their bidding. Libraries are here to provide a safe place, a safe space, and reach all members of our community. Political violence is never justified. Let us commit to peaceful civic engagement and ensure that those we honor truly represent the best of who we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hello, my name is Steve Eller from Beverly Hills, Florida.
And so I'm here to encourage you to reallocate the funds in favor of a memorial for Charlie Kirk. Also, I urge you for the remaining funds of December, January, February, which could be upwards of $800, also be allocated toward this the memorial. I guess the biggest thing I have to say about Charlie was traveling across the nation and the world to give his views. He opened up an arena where people could discuss, and college campuses where there often was a one-sided view of politics, religion, whatever it was. There was often a one-sided through the universities, and if you listen to a debate with Charlie with the students on campus, you could see that there was a difference of opinion. Oftentimes, there was a difference of understanding of the subject matter, and I think it opened up the opportunity to debate, to see differences of opinion, to reason. And I think that's what we should do in a public arena, is reason, come together. We all have our own ideas. We see things in life through our own lens, our worldview of how we were perhaps raised to adulthood, our education, our backgrounds, our religious views. All of these contribute to the lens that we look through. And so I think Charlie opened up that debate so that people could see not only through the view of their lens, but how they could see, I think he wanted them to see truth, what truth really is. And so that is the big debate. And because of that, I think to see what he believed in, what he understood, what he stood up for. I think the memorial would be a great way to do that. And so thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next. Anyone else?
Good morning, Board. My name is John Labriola. I live here in Inverness, and I just wanted to thank you, first of all, for letting us speak at the last meeting and that book page, and the very good decision that was made to cancel that. And thank you for wearing a Freedom T-shirt. Thank you so much for that, Chairman. Well, we've been hearing people come up here telling you not to have this display. It's the same people that yelled and screamed because the LGBT pride display was taken down. So they don't want us to have this display, but they wanted to push the LGBT pride display. Think about that. They're hypocrites. The LGBT pride display was pushing a left-wing agenda very hard in the faces of children, which is harmful to children. This would be a positive display. It would be a display that would celebrate the fact that Charlie Kirk not only wrote many books, he read many books, he recommended books on his podcast, and he welcomed debate. Regarding the quotes that were kind of taken out of context, all of them related to DEI. He opposed putting color or valuing color over merit. He wanted a merit-based society. And so that's what really those quotes come down to. And he won the Medal of Freedom. The Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's the highest civilian honor. He did it.
May I remind you, please. Thank you.
So, and by the way, he was the first public figure that was assassinated since MLK and RFK. And if we honor them, or we honor MLK, and he is being honored currently in some library displays, why wouldn't we honor Charlie Kirk? That would be discrimination. He's the very first person who was assassinated for his politics, but also for his religion. Since RFK and MLK. So we do need this display. It would, I believe, a number of other libraries have already done something like this. So it would be fitting that we should do it, not only for people to understand, why or what his beliefs were, and get over the nonsense about he was a racist. He wasn't. He opposed DEI, which is putting color over merit, and actually he had a picture of Clarence Thomas in his podcast studio. So how is he a racist? So I do encourage you to do that. But first of all, very quickly, regarding the 3 months that we're not are still in the subscription, could you request, please, as part of your motion, that we cancel that we request a refund for those.
Your time has expired.
We request a refund for those 3 months. Thank you.
Next.
Good morning, Board. Deb Spence, Crystal River. I am so opposed to this, and I can't even tell you that I'm spitting nails over this. But let me start with book pages. My wife is a book shelver at Homosassa. I'm an assistant with technology classes. We use the library every week. We use book pages at our bedside, not a bedside, our table side. Robin's got 10 books on reserve right now because there's so much need for them. When those 10 books come in, she's going to ask for the next 3 out of book pages. She's not so computer literate that she wants to go back all the time and figure out what she wants. So I'm still disappointed that the library took that decision because some people don't like it. It's a controversial issue. Everything that the gentleman behind me stands for in this county is controversial. You never see him standing out here with stand down or with holiday strolls or anything else. No LGBT. No Black History Month displays. It's divisive. Now we bring in Charlie Kirk. It's divisive. If 6 months ago, if you had asked this county who Charlie Kirk was, less than 10% would have known. Why are we honoring a man that nobody knew about in life but is honored and revered through death? This county needs to stop this individual from consistently coming up with controversial issues that divide us. Where is he coming here to unite us in anything? I've spoken in front of the county commissioners many times on homelessness, schools, libraries. This guy's a one-trick pony. If he doesn't like it, or if he thinks he's gonna get a rise out of people, then he's gonna bring it up. The $3,300 should go to the library. That's what it was allocated for. Let's do a kids program. Let's do an outreach program with the schools. If you've ever been to some of the kids programs, it's not drag queen, but some of our librarians get dressed up to get the kids engaged. There's playtime. They love to come to the library. Why don't we talk about that more? I have a sad story to tell you, and that is that I have a friend, Garrett, 15 years old, sweet kid, lives out in Michigan, and loving family, and he announced that he was gay. He was bullied at school. He was bullied in the community. There was no place for him to go. There was no school. There was no library. There was no support for him. 2 weeks ago, Garrett took a gun to his head and shot himself and killed himself because there was no place for him to go. If that isn't controversial, I don't know what is. I stand firmly against a memorial to Charlie Kirk, and I'm very sad that the library even brought it forward. It doesn't belong here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning. My name is Janet Borton. I live in Homosassa, Sugar Mill Woods. I am a member of the Homosassa Library Friends. I'm also a literacy volunteer in the library. In fact, I was awarded this year's Literacy Volunteer of the Year. I support Meals on Wheels by delivering food to our shut-ins, and I support the local food pantry. So that's who I am. I'm also a former licensed nursing home administrator, so I have a heart for other people. And I'm very strongly against this idea of a memorial to Charlie Kirk. As others have said, we already have his books in the library, so those of you who are interested in reading about him, reading what he read, you can find those books. the same information that was in Book Page, which I loved, by the way, because I got ideas on what to read from that publication. That's also available online. And if somebody wants to maybe print some of that information and make it available at the reference desk, fine, go ahead and do that. But to construct some kind of an homage to this man who was incredibly divisive. I've read a lot about him since he was murdered, and I agree he was murdered, but he wasn't a good guy. He wasn't a guy who brings us together. I don't know that he did any volunteer work like I've done or like probably a lot of you in this room have done. I want you to also know I'm the granddaughter of an American soldier. I'm the daughter of an American sailor. I'm the mother of an American soldier and the grandmother of a fine, upstanding ROTC student up in Ohio. So I've got some chops here in this country. I've lived in this community for about 6 years, and as you can see, as I've told you, I believe in volunteerism, and I've spent a lot of time with the library. I also want you to know that Charlie Kirk was not the most recent since MLK. There was and I don't remember her name because I didn't prepare any thoughts, but up in Wisconsin, there was a legislator who was murdered along with her family and her dog, if you can imagine, because of her political beliefs. So let's not pretend that Charlie Kirk is some special guy. He was divisive. Everything he said, by and large, white Christian nationalist, racist, homophobic, and there's a lot of other words like those that I could share with you. But please, this is a very poor idea. Thank you very much for your time.
Next.
My name is Vic Lewis from Floral City. I came to this county in 1989. But I just want to say that I would love to see a memorial for Charlie Kirk. I think he really was a great man. I think he was brilliant. I don't believe he was racist. And, most of the people that say he was have taken out of context what he said and knew nothing about him. But he was a phenomenal inspiration to millions of people across the globe. And it's too bad that a lot of people right here in his own hometown couldn't see it. But anyway, I'd love to see a memorial for him. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Robin, how about you come on up here? You've tried several times.
Thank you. I can wait. I'm polite.
You're very patient.
Robin Orlandi, Dunellen. Oh boy, where to begin? A lot of things I was going to say have already been said, so I'll try not to repeat. One point I want to make, the Book Pages subscription was defunded because of cost only, not because of content. Commissioner Kennard said as much. He read it. He didn't find anything controversial, but he was concerned that it costs so much when it's something that could be freely found online and printed. And by printing, if people want reviews from conservative magazines, that can be accomplished as well. So, smart decision. The $3,300 as advocated to printing and then to improving access to ebooks, I think is a wise decision. I would ask that the money not be given to a memorial to a figure who is so divisive, as this meeting has demonstrated. You see right here a lot of strong opinions that are contrary. I don't want my tax money spent to honor a person whose views I personally find abhorrent. I understand that white men, young white men, there's an identity crisis, and that there might have been many things in common that they found in the less controversial elements of Kirk's speech. However, when he says things like birth control makes women crazy, women should listen only to their husbands, the black pilot, all of the different quotes, in addition to I've listened to his speeches, and again, generating not common ground, but division, controversy, belittling people, putting people down. These are not what our American society should be about. Nor is it the mission of our library to support division, rather unity. The library is a safe, unifying space for people of all beliefs, faiths, sexes, colors. That is the purpose that strengthens our democracy, because what we take away from the library, we can discuss together. More importantly, the same group that was so vehemently against the pride displays is now asking for what it amounts to a special interest display for their guy. And they've got to understand that the rule applies equally. If you're not going to allow special displays on one side, you can't expect it on your side. I would add to the comment and understand that those who believe Mr. Kirk would like to honor him, and I would suggest a traditional fashion of having your own fundraiser to purchase perhaps a couple of his most recent titles that aren't already in the very large collection that exists in the library. And you put a book plate in there that says, you know, in memory of Charlie Kirk. That book goes on the shelf. Those books are available for anyone that wants to learn more about him. And he's honored in a way that maintains the equanimity within the library and yet provides a presence.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you very much.
Next. Anyone else?
My name is Eric Ball. I live in Crystal River. I'm in favor of a tribute, if you want to call it that. You've had tributes to other people and other causes. Previous speaker said we shouldn't have a tribute to Charlie Kirk because we objected to the LBGT stuff. Well, you had the LGBT stuff, and it's negative, and it's divisive, and it's really evil. It's the kind of thing Charlie talked about. Charlie was brilliant. Charlie was an inspiration. His organization, well named Turning Point. And I think his death is a turning point. You're going to see, already are seeing, kudos to Governor DeSantis for trying to open up Turning Point chapters in all the schools. I just heard it on the radio coming here. And Charlie Kirk was murdered for being a Christian. And notice the hate that's been expressed here. Yeah, hate. And Bible says that if you love Christ, you'll be hated. Just like he was hated. Just like Charlie Kirk was hated. Anybody who's effective at spreading a good Christian message, the truth, is going to be hated. And when you're effective at it like Charlie Kirk was, you better watch your back. There's going to be more Charlie Kirks. I think there's going to be 1,000-fold. We're already seeing it. Thank the Lord for that. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning. My name's Rosemary Nilles from Inverness, and I have to agree with many of the speakers. Charlie Kirk was a brilliant man and a good leader. And I'm very, very sorry. To his family, I express my sympathies, and to those who love him, because political violence has no place in a democracy. And unfortunately, we are seeing more of it. In thinking of this discussion, I've heard most of it. I would think that most Citrus residents would say no to this. A lot of people don't know. So what you're seeing is a very small segment of our communities today. So, yeah, we're not a cross-section, those of us who are speaking. We don't represent everyone. The vast majority don't have much of an opinion. But would you if you were to let the majority of citizens hear this discussion, if they were all to tune in, I think you'd find that most would say, no, this isn't the right way to spend our money. I would say we need to honor someone who volunteered in Citrus, who made a difference in Citrus. I won't name names, but the Chronicle, every day, every week, they're honoring someone who made a big difference in this community through their volunteerism. And I'll tell you one story, out of context, I will admit, but I didn't know much about Charlie Kirk, but shortly after he died, I started reading about him, tried to put it in its context, but I did see a video of him doing a podcast with two other younger gentlemen, and they were discussing the need for public executions of criminals, people who broke the law. They bantered back and forth between the three of them about the age at which children should be allowed, encouraged, maybe even required to watch these public executions. Imagine the conversation. They were saying, should kids be required or allowed to watch these executions at 14? Maybe 16. Well, maybe 12. And the three of them discussed this. I can't give you the details. I don't have a signal here in this room. But if you look it up on YouTube, you can watch it for yourself. And when we think about indoctrinating children, is this what we want to memorialize in our community? I think not. And I encourage you all to find that video and decide for yourselves. Thank you.
Next. You can pull it down.
Thank you. I'm a little vertically challenged.
It's okay.
My name is Rowena Kinchley, and I live in Inverness, Florida. And I came here today because I am against memorializing Charlie Kirk. Also, I was disappointed that you took away book bans. I often got ideas for books I would never have discovered that I was absolutely delighted to read. But I've watched Charlie Kirk's videos, and while his death was tragic, his death was one of 2 school shootings that day, and you never hear about the other one. There have been many school shootings, and Charlie Kirk was a white supremacist. He was an anti-feminist. He was pretty much anti-everything. I watched some of his interchanges, some of his debates with students, and in my opinion, he was a bully. He was political, he was divisive. And I say again, his death was tragic, but it was one of 2 school shootings. If you memorialize him, you are memorializing that. If you're looking for ways to replace the $3,000, you could buy books with it. You could encourage programs for children. The library is for all. It does not mean except for books you don't like. Or you could, God forbid, save the money. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Return this to a normal level.
They'll figure it out. Don't worry about that.
Good morning. My name is Vicki Iozzi. I live in Beverly Hills, and I did not prepare a statement on this, but as I'm listening to everything that's going on, it seems to me that this is about control. Book Page was too expensive. It had controversial things that people didn't like. It got cut, and now they want to take that money and spend it on Charlie Kirk. It wasn't about the budget. It's about controlling what happens in the libraries, and I don't think that's right.
Thank you. Next. Please fill out you do have to fill out a sheet of, okay, got it. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, Board. My name is Rose Hagstrom, and I live in Homosassa. I'm against the shrine. I believe that this county is a caring county. I think it's a kind county, and I think Charlie Kirk spews hate. I also have one concern that I want the board to look at. We're supposed to be impartial on the board and hear all this information, and I look in front of me and a gentleman is wearing a Charlie Kirk shirt. I don't think that person should be allowed to vote on this topic because I do not believe they're impartial. Thank you.
Thank you. Please keep your comments quiet. I understand it's hard. All right. Next. All right. Seeing there's no one else. Okay.
Good morning, Board. Thank you for all you do. Since I woke in, I jotted down some notes, and I'd like to read them to you. My thoughts.
State your name and where you're from.
Mike O'Connell, Floral City. In the spirit of Charlie Kirk, I would like, Mr. Chairman, to offer an olive branch to those here who disagree with me. While we may disagree about a Charlie Kirk display, my hope is that all of us get to know each other better in order to bring peace to our community. Back to basics. How can we increase patronage to our county libraries? Answer, put up a Charlie Kirk display, memorial and display, and bring in all of the books that he wrote. Young people throughout the entire world have become engaged in learning more about this man that could well be described as a single most influential American citizen of the first quarter of the 21st century. I have listened daily to Charlie Kirk, 2 hours a day for 4 years. 2 hours a day for 4 years. I've listened to him. He is a decent man. I didn't agree with everything that he said, but he always spoke truthfully and lovingly. He did not say the things that some here have claimed. I am confident that my friends on the left did not listen to him daily, if at all. I hope they will learn a little more about him. Sorry, chicken scratch. I believe this will help bring us together as a community. A Charlie Kirk display will bring more students into the library. With his visit to the White House before the Iran attack took place, Charlie Kirk may have been the very person who kept the United States from entering into a wider war with Iran. He truly was a giant with regard to bringing peace to the world. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing there's no one else, I am going to close open to public. All right. Okay. So, board, as always, after open to public, will allow you to comment. So first of all, address the elephant in the room. I am wearing a Charlie Kirk T-shirt. I had planned on wearing that to begin with. October 14th was his birthday. Contrary to what many have spoken about Charlie Kirk, I did not find him to be hateful, a bigot, or any of those other things that were said. And contrary to the many in this room, I actually have watched a lot of Charlie Kirk. I do believe somebody mentioned that probably 10% of the county did not know him before his death. I don't know that to be true, but that's probably correct, somewhere around that number. And I would say that that number reflects exactly the truth, that most do not know Charlie Kirk. And so what they read and heard, of course, were sound bites. I agree to that. And, I have said things that could be considered controversial as taken outside of context. And I would hate for someone to judge me based upon certain things. I also take terrible offense to someone say that, or to suggest that he somehow deserved what happened to him. That's absolutely absurd. I remember the day when it happened and I had to pick up my son from football practice and break the news to him. My 14-year-old son, who watched countless hours of Charlie Kirk. He and I and my other children. You can't tell me anything about Charlie Kirk. I know Charlie Kirk. Okay? And I would also say, I don't disagree that what he said was divisive. I don't disagree with that. I would say, and I would argue that probably what Martin Luther King Jr. said during his time was considered divisive by some. I believe that. And sometimes truth is divisive. But Mr. Kirk used the Socratic method to debate, to encourage discourse. And what I have found in the midst of discourse and my own discourse is a lot of times it takes me some time to determine what I actually believe, if that makes sense. That it takes debate and engaging in what we can all agree on is that he engaged in debate with those that he disagreed with. That takes courage. I would say many of us don't have that kind of courage. It took courage. No, this is my time. This is not public time. Well, then you can leave. Hey, take care of her. Thank you.
You should excuse yourself from this conversation since you wore that.
Hey, listen, if you want to hear the rest, you can hear the rest. So here's the deal, and this proves the point, is that you only hear what you want to hear. Because here's the truth. While I absolutely honor this man and feel like he stood for freedom of speech, public discourse, the Socratic method, which, ironic, Socrates suffered a very similar fate. I also am aware of the fact of what was said earlier about becoming hypocritical, to which I never want to be labeled as. And one of the things that, and there was a lot of good points, and I wish I remembered every single person that said it, but I do remember Marcy. You mentioned care and time, and that's a phrase that I can sympathize with. There is still a lot that needs to be said and done and understood about this entire event. I do also know that it was some time, which actually predates my experience here on the board, that there was a lot of discourse over the pride displays, which, I personally find offensive. However, those displays were deemed to be too divisive and political and so on. And at the direction of the director at that time, they had decided to no longer carry those on. And I don't want to speak out of turn because I'm not completely clear on these details, but I do believe that it was stated that we would steer away from any type of displays that were political in nature. So for me personally, number one, I take extreme offense to what was stated, and that's okay. That's what free speech does. Sometimes it's offensive. Sometimes it hurts your feelings. It should never cost you your life. And while I do believe that this nation should venerate a man like Charlie Kirk, I disagree with all of the stuff that's been said about him negatively. I think it's just out of ignorance. I don't believe it's out of hate or malice, except for one individual. But I don't think I can support a display per se for Charlie Kirk. Now, I'm all about buying books. We want to use the money to purchase books in memory of Charlie Kirk. I don't disagree with that. I don't feel like I want to, I don't want to persuade one way or another on that. I'm all for buying books. And I would encourage people to read his books. Then you would know more about him instead of just making judgments. I just feel like that would change and alter what has been a precedent, and it could be potentially dangerous. Remember, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And so I really would highly encourage, I will recuse myself from this vote. I would highly encourage the board to consider that. That's just what I would say, is that, consider what that would open up if we did a display that is, whether which way we choose, it is absolutely political. It's a political display. And I just don't think we should do that. I do take to note about the budget aspect of the canceling of Book Page. It was canceled for budget purposes. I think we need to be wise with the amount of money that was there. Some people had said we did it. We didn't do it. We were on task to make a decision, and the county commission made the decision. I support that decision, but they made the decision. So, simple fact, and banning books, no books have been banned to my knowledge. There was one book that was removed because there was zero interest in it. But other than that, no books have been banned. So I say all that to say this, I am absolutely for using some of the funds to purchase books that were suggested by Charlie Kirk, that were his own works. Some of those books are still yet to come out. I'm absolutely for all that. I even, appreciate Robin's comment about maybe some sort of placard on them or whatever that looks like. And I do want to make note that she mentioned that based upon raising funds for that. So I don't want to take anything out of context. But I would absolutely support more of the books that he espoused to be in our libraries, just like I would any other book. However, that being said, based upon the danger of altering precedent, I cannot necessarily support a display. You're not going to find me mad and angry if there's a display put up and that's the decision you all come to. But I would highly encourage you to think that one through based upon what that could open up, okay? That being said, I am done. Anybody else?
I have a comment or two. Basically, I believe that the money has already been earmarked according to what the county commission was tasking the library to use the money for, and so that point is moot. It's done. The display issue is something that again is possibly, along with buying books that Charlie recommended and or wrote himself or maybe writing in the future. A lot of these types of situations when someone has been, killed, brings up that moment that many of the public spoke about, that basically spikes the interest in those items. And so the library follows that demand of want and or need. It doesn't necessarily espouse any side of the issue. It's following the demand of people who want to read those books and learn about that person. And sorry. And so I'm all for that as far as like following that demand, as in they would any other person that people become interested in and or books thereof. So really and truthfully, we've had about an hour and 15 minutes of discussion that I'm not going to say it was all for naught, because it's important to hear and listen to everyone. But just keep in mind that what's going on is more along the lines of demand and what the money's already been earmarked for. And so that's just the way things are done in the library world. So thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
I want to say thank you to everybody for your public comments. That's the freedom that we have, and that's why, I felt it laid on my heart to bring this up, to bring this discussion up. If there was availability, if there are books that are already in place, I believe, was it Robin who meant, yes, who mentioned, even just, like a plaque or something that said, hey, these are Charlie Kirk's, recommendations or whatever it is. This, I did want to bring it up as a conversation because I knew it was going to be decisive. However, I wanted to make sure that we could get input, and that was a great input, I think. I think that, I don't want something that's right in everybody's face that says, hey, these are, here's a display or here's a memorial, you have to read these books or whatever they are. However, these are what he inspired his beliefs off of. I know a lot of those books I've read myself, and just looking back at the person that he was, knowing that he was just a few months younger than myself, seeing his life a lot like how mine has been, being an Eagle Scout, being, a Christian, a young man around the same age as him, is trying to find his place in this world. So, that's for me, that's where I put myself. I had to tell my, 9-year-old son, because I always keep him up to date on current events, what happened that day. Some people say, well, that's really young. No, I was 8 years old when the planes crashed into the World Trade Center. So I remember watching that from home. So, there's things that I think a lot of kids can handle and can take. And, that was my choice to tell my son. But I think even with that, just making sure that anybody, who wants to know what these books are, if we do have them in the library, I think that's great. I think I saw like the Tuttle Twins was in there. I think there's only like a few copies, but even if there's something, digital copies or more that we could put towards that, I think that'd be great, and maybe just highlight and say, hey, these were part of the recommendations from Charlie Kirk. And, somebody that might see that, they might not have even known anything about those books, but they knew who Charlie Kirk was. And, it gets them inspiring to read more. So, and broaden their horizon on that too. So, no, I appreciate everybody's comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Can I throw my 2 cents in?
Absolutely.
Just to correct the record, Socrates drank hemlock. He wasn't shot.
Right. Well.
I kept track of the sentiments here. It looked like about 17, 18 people were not in favor of memorial. 11 or so were in favor of it. I think Robin's idea and Mr. Campbell's idea about putting a plaque in the books is fine. I'm glad we're not talking about banning any books because we don't like them. So that's great. If it came to a vote, I don't know, I probably wouldn't vote for him. I think just by evidence of this meeting, kind of way too divisive a figure. That's it. Okay. I was going to say something else, but I'm not.
Yes, excuse me, I'd like to add one thought. I sit here and I look at the mission statement. Nowhere in that mission statement does it say political divisive things can be considered appropriate for our library system. And although Mr. Kirk's assassination is totally incomprehensible to me, his death has become a political ping pong. And I know Mr. Campbell's thought process was for good, so I commend him for that. But I don't think, well, a shrine wouldn't happen, I don't believe. But even a display, I'm not in accordance with. And I think that the budgetary $3,300 that's been earmarked would be best suited to use it for that, or continuing on the good that Mr. Campbell has proposed. The most popular program, I asked Mr. Chang earlier, the most popular program in the library, in the libraries, is story time. If we wanted to take a portion of that money and put it with the budgetary amount for story time, we could do that.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, quickly. We're talking about $3,000 here, right? Like, not a ton of money. And I think Adam already has identified a great solution to a problem that actually exists. I know many of us have waited for a digital hold for weeks, months, and if that is something that people are asking for, we need to help and provide access to information. That's one of the things that we're here to do, right? So let's put that money where we need to put it so people can have access to books and read them. That's our most important job.
Thank you.
Yes, I thank you all for coming and sharing your thoughts and what's important to you, to us, so that it better helps us to make decisions. I am going to reach out to people that I know and people that have sponsored different things in the library and ask them to go ahead and do his suggestion, find out what the line of protocol is. Those of you who are for it, put your money where your mouth is and go ahead and ask people that you know or you yourself buy some of those books and support that. And I take that stance because the money is being spent the way the Board of County Commissioners has already asked for it to be spent, and we are here to take from the public and give to Adam to take to the Board of County Commissioners. That's the line of protocol. That's already been done. The money's already been allocated, but I do think this is a good point. Also, quite a few people brought up the point that over time, we will see the significance of Charlie Kirk in America and to the different age groups. It is true. My husband is a civics teacher in middle school, and I can tell you how affected the middle school students are by Charlie Kirk and what has happened. And those kids will, in the future, become adults and young adults. So I think that is another good suggestion, is that over time we come back to this, and it might be in that time that we allocate specific money in a next budget for a display. I don't necessarily think a memorial, because that would have to be in every one of them at this time. It might be to the point, but I don't see a memorial for JFK in every one of our libraries. I do see displays in the month of whichever. And I do think that in the future, that would be something that we would want. But again, I think a lot of what we're trying to allocate money for has already been spent. Is there any, and I ask Adam this, is there anything to the $800 reimbursed from what we're not going to use?
So the $800, if we, it is being used because we do have an agreement with BookPage for the BookPage magazine through February. So we're going to get deliveries through February. They're going out in our branches until that agreement expires. So BookPage will be in the library until February, currently, February 2026. The $800 that would be remaining, I actually don't know if that's the full number. I'm trying to think of where that number came from. But whatever money is left from that we haven't spent from BookPage yet, we could get that money back as a credit from BookPage. It would remain a BookPage credit. So I can't use that money for anything other than BookPage. It would just be a credit from the BookPage kind of company, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't get necessarily a refund from them and then spend it on something else.
Okay.
Based on the agreement that we had with them that we've set.
And that would be key information for us to share with the public, that it's not just, we will continue our subscription to the end of the subscription because it was a contract.
Yes.
And then we don't know about those other funds. Is there anything else that the BookPage offers us other than the BookPage itself?
Not particularly. It's a lot of it is it's the BookPage itself, the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
There's some customization you can do with BookPage. You can put your information on a particular book page. That costs a little bit more to do that. They also they sell like T-shirts and things, but nothing that would be relevant to what we're.
So we don't have anything to put that whatever funds that would be.
Right. Outside of the BookPage magazine itself, no, because those credits would only go towards like BookPage items.
Okay.
That makes it a lot more clear. Thank you for that. And I did see, speaking of last month, that we do have other than Book Page, we do have others that stay in the library that are recommendations for books. I saw one at Lakes Region when we were there, so I'm not sure that the public is aware of that we do have copies of suggestions for books that stay in the library. It's usually behind the circulation desk in the Lakes Region Library. So if the public is, again, wanting to know, they are at the library. And you could take a picture with your phone, and then you could, like, mark it. So somebody had said that, too, that they like to mark it. And I agree. I just went on a cruise and had a fit that there was nothing in paper anywhere for me to mark what I wanted to do. So I agree with that. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay. Is everyone?
I agree with what everyone has said here today. I just go along with exactly what Katie said. It's already been decided. I go along with what the recommendations are. And I do believe that it was spoken of before that our digital resources are in need. And so I go with that. As far as I was concerned, it was a done deal.
Okay. Anyone else?
I can say a few things, Chair.
Yes, sir.
I just want to clear up a couple of things. Thank you, Lenore, for kind of reminding me that maybe, when these opportunities arise, I should, have a chance to explain things to everyone a little bit more. One of the things that was brought up about books for Charlie Kirk, kind of in his memory or his honor, the traditional way, as someone mentioned, is that we put a book plate in a book if it's donated. If it's purchased by kind of the library through county funds, we typically wouldn't do that. But if it's a donation, we do usually put a book plate in there to say, in this person's honor, in this person's memory. That's a common thing that people leave various amounts of money into the library for. Let's say they had a community member that was an avid gardener. They'll say, can you purchase books on gardening in honor of this particular person? And then we put a book plate in there based on those donations. We typically try to stay away from somebody making specific book requests, like it's this particular book that we want you to buy, because sometimes we already have that book and maybe that citizen isn't aware of that. And it better serves us and it better serves the community if we have a variety of books. If, let's say we already have 5 copies of a particular book. If someone wants us to buy a 6th, there's a greater need for another book. So we try to just focus more on genres. So if we were buying, like I said, gardening as an example, it wouldn't be this specific book on gardening. It could be buy this particular book or a book on that topic. So that helps us just from the public standpoint as well, if anybody is making donations or interested, giving us a little bit of flexibility to fit within a genre versus, and it can be very focused in that genre as well. You can be, very, very specific. It doesn't have to be gardening. It could be something like, indoor gardening or hydroponics that they're really interested in, that we buy those type of materials. So I wanted to kind of make sure I mentioned that as far as the book plate option is through donation typically. I do also want to mention that I got quite a few people, about 9 or 10, that reached out to me between yesterday and this morning about this agenda item, both for and against the idea. So I want you to know that I did get some additional comments from the public that said they couldn't make this meeting, but they wanted me to express that they were for or against it. So there was multiple people there. And then as far as the books, Reese had emailed me a list of books, and I did check. We did look in our catalog. We do have quite a few of those titles. Specific to Charlie Kirk, we have many of his books. And as Edith kind of alluded to, as demand and interest rises in things, we do buy more of those materials or those like materials, because at the end of the day, our goal as a library is to get people to read. We buy those books because we want you to check them out. We want the citizens of our community to engage and want to read the books that we have. So as we see those trends change, as we see people interested in certain topics, we do go and we purchase more of those type of materials.
Okay.
That's it. That's it.
Okay. All right. Anyone have any questions for Director Chang? Okay. So I'm just going to ask specifically, do we have a motion, or are we entertaining a motion with regards to this specific agenda item?
Yeah, I would put a motion forward to commemorate any books or a display for Charlie Kirk.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I second that, so we can vote on it.
Okay. Seeing we have a second and we have we technically have to open up to public. So I'm going to make a motion that we limit all speeches to 2 minutes and that we have 5 for and 5 against for the balance of speeches. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Seeing that it carries. All right, so all speeches will be limited to 2 minutes. We'll have a balance of speeches of 5 for and 5 against. Once the speeches are met, the balance is met on one side, no longer will any speeches for that be entertained. We will entertain any against or for, whichever is the delta, and then we'll just continue on until we meet our marker. All right, we're opening up for public comment. Have anyone that would like to speak regarding specifically this motion to, and please clarify the motion just so everyone understands.
To either display or put a like a placard or a plate for Charlie Kirk, even if it's through donations or anything like that, to be able to accept those and put them out specifically for that.
It's the chair's opinion that that's a little too ambiguous.
Yes.
Okay, I'll just keep it simple, just to have a display up.
Okay.
Yeah, just to put the books out in the front, where people can walk by them, pass them.
Okay, and I don't mean that, it's just.
No, I get it.
Yeah. All right, so the motion as presented, I will say, and then please correct me, is to develop a display to commemorate Charlie Kirk. And with regards to that timeline to be determined by the...
To be determined, yes.
Okay, all right. So clear as mud, right? Okay, so I'm going to say the motion is to develop a display to commemorate Charlie Kirk, to be determined as far as timeline based upon what the library staff deems appropriate. Okay, we're opening up for public comment. You can come up here for public comment.
Hi, again, I'm Marissa.
I'm sorry, you must state for or against and where you're from, name and where you're from.
Okay, I'm against it. My name is Marissa Donato from Hernando. I'm against it because it seems like the funds have already been allocated for a good use, being put back into the library. And I feel like we've all agreed that the library is not a political place. And like we've all said, or like most of you said, unfortunately, Charlie Kirk has become a political figure because of his assassination. So I think we should not do the display. However, if someone wants to do a fundraiser, like you guys were saying, and do a plaque in a section under conservative Christian, I don't know his ideals, but whatever would fit, like he was saying, gardening or whatever. If someone wants to put, in memory of Charlie Kirk, donated from, whoever, I'm for that, but I am against having a display in the library. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Joanne Messina, Hernando. I'm against the motion. I ask the board members to consider the wise words of Chairman Strickland that we not have any divisive displays, and that's what this would be. Thank you.
Good morning again, Deb Spence, Crystal River. I am against any type of display, plaque, or anything else. We have so much going on in our community at this point. We just lost Corporal Lahara. Where's his plaque? Where's his memorial at the library system? We just lost another resource officer, Deputy Rod. Doesn't he deserve something too? When we get into this as individuals, we're really starting to track down into the mud of who deserves and who is more deserving than another. I think the library system is meant for our community and our community only. National events, national figures can go someplace else. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
I spoke earlier, Steve Moline from Hernando. I didn't intend to come up and say anything else, but
I want you to think about the fact that you want to bring people into the library.
So state whether you're for or against. I apologize.
Excuse me. I guess I'd say I'm for, but it's a question of creating interest for people to come into the library and inform themselves one way or the other. And if you have something that people are interested in and you offer in the library, they'll come in and use your library system. If this is controversial, they'll come in. You can say all you want to say about this individual or any other individual, but you have to track the truth. And I haven't heard some people say truth today. I would encourage you to look at various resources, not just books, but you could have video access for many of the things that have been said that are true. I've heard many things that aren't true, but I would say generally you can clarify that by creating interest and having people come into the Citrus County Library System. So in that regard, I'd say you should really seriously consider some application. It may not be this particular one, but some way of creating that interest and that desire, because it's out there throughout the whole nation, not just Citrus County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Michael Connell, Floral City. I'm for. I just want to echo the sentiments of the speaker who just walked away from the podium. I do understand the reasoned explanations and thoughts of the board members here. But I do want to say that Charlie Kirk was controversial, but look at how the people flocked to him all over the world. People are interested in him from every corner of the world, and especially here in America. So if we want to bring patronage into the libraries, maybe wear out the carpet. Let's do something to promote Charlie Kirk in some way. How that is, I don't know. Maybe privately funded, but I think a display is a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robin Orlandi, Dunellen, and I'm against this motion. I stand by my original recommendation to put a book plate inside the books, and then people are interested in this topic already. It's popular, people are curious. I'm going to go back and look at some of those books as well because of what's been said here today, sincerely. But again, as Justin observed, we don't want to create divisive displays in the library, and at this point in history, this is such a hot-button topic for many people, one way or the other, that my fear would be that that would do that. I also wanted to say that Melissa Hortman, Representative Melissa Hortman, and her husband, Child, and John and Yvette Hoffman in Minnesota were also shot and killed. 2 people survived. 2 of the children survived, but that was also political violence, and it was by someone that was radically to the right. And again, the same thing with the man that killed Charlie Kirk. He was raised in a conservative family, and I think to the point that Reese made, we need to open this discussion so that everybody can be involved and try to find common ground, because we are at a tipping point in the country, certainly. Not 2 minutes? Wow. But again, the book plate, it gives the acknowledgement that you desire. It puts the materials on the shelf. I also agree that the library will know what is new and what is most relevant and in demand, and that the purchase decision from donated monies should be left to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next. Now, just so we're clear, we have a total of 4 against and 2 for.
I'm Rowena Kinchley from Inverness, and I am against having the display. I do support the option of having privately funded book plates put in books by Charlie Kirk, and that Charlie Kirk recommended, because that is indeed free speech. Also, the point was brought up here about making a display honoring local veterans, and are volunteers and community, and the death of 2 sheriff's office employees, I think, really merits some consideration.
Thank you. All right, just so we're clear, as far as the balance of speeches are concerned, we have met our number for against. We have 2 for.
Good morning, John Labriola, Inverness. So regarding your point, yes, 4, yes. So I believe you said that a decision was made when the LGBT Pride display was canceled that no political displays. That actually, I was here, and that wasn't the decision. It was just that particular display was so controversial that it should not continue. So I don't believe that it was something that was political that was decided. Regarding that, right now in the libraries, MLK, I believe, is honored. He was also very controversial. Are we going to say he can't be whatever displayed as well? He's currently I believe I think Riz told me that there was a mural in I think at the Crystal River Library of Martin Luther King or something like that. Correct? I think so. Anyway, but regardless, it was. If we say that anybody that's controversial can't be displayed, all those books in the library, most of them have some controversial content. So I think it's going too far. Charlie Kirk is only controversial with people that actually celebrated his death or condoned his death, as we heard here. That
Please,
people.
thank you.
The quote is today was said just right here. When people preach hate, things like that are bound to happen. That's a threat to anybody who's Christian or who disagrees with the far left. That is a threat, and it's in our community we should feel comfortable that view is a minority view, and it should be condemned. But the rest of us should be able to have a display that shows us somebody that we admire. That who cares if he's controversial with the far left? This is a conservative community, and we want to honor that. So I believe that if a month is too long, at least make it one day. October 14th is the day of remembrance that was declared by President Trump, and Charlie Kirk is a Medal of Freedom winner.
Thank you. Your time has expired.
Thank you.
All right, so we have 3 for, so we have just room for speeches for. Technically not speeches, input.
Hello again, Steve Eller, Beverly Hills, Florida. And I am for. I think just 1 or 2 things I want to say about it is that I've heard 2 negative comments against that keep reiterating themselves, that is political and divisiveness. We all have differences of opinions. And divisiveness depends on your, as I said before, your worldview, your ideology. Those things go largely in determining whether you think something is divisive or not. For me, something I agree with may be divisive to you, but it is such a huge thing, I think. Educationally wise, having a display, people can see for themselves. Pick up a book, read. Well, maybe it will substantiate what you already believed. Maybe it will change your mind. But that's what education is about, isn't it? It's about opening your mind to see the truth, and that's what we want. Thank you.
Thank you. We have room for 1 more person for the motion as presented.
Guys, my name is Margie Eller, and I'm from Beverly Hills, and I am for. Thank you for your service here. But I just wanted to say, I guess I'm kind of appalled that many people think that Charlie Kirk was divisive. But we all have an opinion. But my children, my grandchildren, I have listened for hours and for years of Charlie Kirk, and I do not find him divisive, and I would recommend some kind of a display to honor him and what he stood for. He encouraged thought in people. Our young people are so inundated with so much negative things and so much false information out there. And he was bringing that forward for us to think, to use our brains to think. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we have met our balance of speeches against and for. I will only say one thing as a matter of clarification. I am not voting on this measure. However, it was mentioned that I said I was against divisive displays. That was not the term that I used. I understand how that could be misunderstood. My point is that we have a precedent of non-political displays, and so it is my opinion that Charlie Kirk is, of course, among many other things, a political figure. And so I would be very mindful and careful of what that would play into displays in the future. So that is my caution, my only reservation there. So that being said, I have recused myself from a vote. You now have the balance of speeches. You have 5 who have spoken against, 5 who have spoken for. The motion as presented is to create a display for commemorating Charlie Kirk, to be decided as far as timing by the library staff. That is how the motion has been presented. So now we will open up for board discussion on this if you feel appropriately that you want to discuss. If not, we'll move to a vote. So would anyone like to speak now that you've heard from the public?
I just have a question about it. So you're saying this isn't something we're going to do right away or necessarily in the next year? We're going to take time to see, like we had said, or is this something that the library would incorporate within a year? Because of it being such a hot topic now, but what we had said by a number of people is over time, we will see the test of this.
I will quote a general overseer of the Church of God who administered over Robert's Rule of Orders for many years. It says what it says. So the motion is what it is.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. So now we will entertain a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
It is my opinion that the nays have it. The motion fails. So I can tell you who voted aye, Mr. Campbell and Mrs. Nelson.
Yes.
Correct? And then Mrs. Ebbets, Mr. Reagan, Mrs. Ramlow, Mrs. Benefield, Mrs. Myers voted against. Okay? All right.
Chair, before we go any further, we do need another clarification at this point from Mr. Chang. We had someone that was removed that has come back in. Is that appropriate? If they were removed?
So that is a good question for
Precedence purposes?
Right. Well, as far as precedent purposes are concerned, we've never had outbursts like this, to my knowledge, as far as I've been on as chair. So, you know, I am fully okay with Ms. Fox staying in the room, providing that she can behave herself. But I have no opposition to that. I do want to, I want people to understand this. Look, there's nothing wrong with your opinion, differences of opinions. We all have a difference of opinion. And I think that probably sometimes we judge people inappropriately at times and or we jump to a conclusion before we hear everything out. If you have a problem or you feel like your temper is getting the best of you, Lord knows that happens to me too, you know, but just step outside, you know, step outside, recollect your thoughts, go in the restroom, you know, splash a little water on your face, whatever it takes. Come back in and sit down and just, you know, participate in the meeting. But as far as your question, Mrs. Nelson, to my knowledge, I can't answer that as far as precedent. It's just, that'd be something we'd have to ask Denise Lynn. I do know that we have the right to remove people. I do know that, we have a public input time. We have it for certain reasons. I appreciate freedom of speech, and I'm a hardliner on that, I guess. So anyways, I'm just mumbling now. Point is, I can't answer your question. All right. So anyways, but Mr. Chang, maybe you can get some clarification from Denise Lynn on that, okay?
Yes, I'll get clarification on that.
All right. Now we have went through a couple things. So now we're going to go to special items on the agenda. And that would be Director Chang.
Yes. If I can clarify one thing, or just go back to one thing that was said a few minutes ago about the mural. We do not have a mural of Martin Luther King Jr. in any of our libraries, to my knowledge. Specifically the one over at Coastal Region. We had that one redone, and it's a nature coast scene. So I just want to make sure that if there is something in the library, it's not the murals. I know that sometimes when things get said, it has a way of kind of getting legs and getting carried away, but there's no mural in there of Martin Luther King Jr.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so we'll jump into our fiscal year review. So I wanted to take a little bit of time to go over this past year. So our year runs kind of fiscal year, so October 1 through September 30th. So these next kind of slides, or this next item, is just to kind of go over some of the things that we accomplished this year. So one of the things that I want to point out about this year for us was it was really a year of growth, innovation, and renovation. I think those three kind of words kind of highlight what we accomplished as far as everything this year. I do also want to say that you're going to see a lot of numbers and statistics and data over these next couple slides. And even though you're going to see some very large numbers in here, how many visitors we had, how many checkouts, all of those large numbers are made up of thousands of small interactions with our library staff. Our staff do an incredible job each year making sure that our libraries run smoothly, that we have engaging programs, that we have material on the shelves. So I want to give all the credit to everything that you're going to see on these next slides to the hard work of our staff that put in countless hours to support our libraries and our volunteers as well. So this first slide goes over the total number of checkouts, library visits, reference questions, materials that are available in our libraries. And this past year, we had over 500,000 visits to our library. You'll see up there it has 305,000. Those are physical visits, but I'm also tracking digital visits as well. So people who are using our digital branch, which a lot of that is our ebooks and our databases and things like that. So that number actually truly sits around 500,000 visits, not just those physically coming through the door as those 305,000 are there. We checked out just over 600,000 items this year again. That's really big for our library because we passed that number last year, and then we've also again topped that number this year. The last time we were over that number was in 2016. So we are seeing a tremendous amount of growth in our library of people being interested in the materials that we have available. And a lot of these numbers, also, please keep in mind that Coastal Region was under renovation for most of the year. So some of the services over there were limited. We didn't have community rooms available throughout the year. We didn't have some programming that we would typically have. Some areas of the library were closed off while we were renovating. So I anticipate these numbers to grow from this once we're now fully open with all of our locations. All right. The other numbers that we're tracking here that you'll see, we've made a big push and an emphasis on study rooms and community rooms this last year. So both at Lakes Region and the Coastal Region Library, we added study rooms to those locations. We heard from a number of people over the years through the community. I know when I worked as an instruction and research librarian, one of the big requests I would get was study room usage. And if I happened to be based at a branch that didn't have a study room, I would always have to point them to Central Ridge or Homosassa. So luckily we were able to add those both to Lakes Region and Coastal Region, and we're starting to see heavy use in those areas, as well as in our new meeting spaces that we've added both at Coastal Region and Lakes Region. We're seeing more people that want those spaces. We hear a lot in the community about space needs and places for people to meet, and our libraries are adapting to that kind of need or that request by adding those meeting spaces. And I can tell you, coming up in this next year in April, we've made the decision to close the Learning Center at Homosassa Library, and we're going to turn that into a meeting space so people can use that to book for any kind of reservations they need. We're just seeing technology shifts the way they are, that less people are reliant on those computers in that lab. So we're going to go ahead and remove that lab to make it more open and available for people to be able to meet. And we're going to, I would imagine that number will double based on what we're seeing over at Lakes and Coastal. All right. And program attendance. So program attendance has continued to grow for us again this year as well. We topped, I believe, just over 33,000 people to our programs this year. As Maria Lane had mentioned, our number one program is Storytime that we have. Those programs, they're 5 days a week at each of our locations. Those range from about 20 participants all the way up to we've had 65 or 70 people attend our story times on a weekly basis. So our youth team and our library staff do a phenomenal job keeping those programs running and people engaged. So these are just a few unique programs that I have on this slide here. Some of the variety of things that we offer. We offer introductory Spanish classes. You can come learn to play ukulele. We partner with Dementia Education to offer a memory cafe to support people with Alzheimer's and dementia. We have card making classes. We have a program called Happy Tales where kids can come in and read the therapy dogs. And then we also have History Hour, which is the picture in the top right. One of our staff dresses up in historically accurate attire, and then he discusses something historical, usually typically a battle or part of a war or something like that. Tremendously popular. Derek does a phenomenal job with that one, but that one's always packed whenever he offers that class. So a lot of really good programs. We offer just over 2,800 programs this year, and that's an average of about 9 a day at all of our libraries. So again, staff are doing all types of programs, and then in the bottom left there's a sewing program. We have sewing for adults and sewing for kids. So we're engaging all ranges of people that are interested in learning different hobbies and skills.
Awesome.
All right. So kind of diving in a little more to our technology upgrades. So this kind of goes with our innovation. So we did launch Patron Point, which the main goal of this one is to be able to allow text messaging again throughout our library system, people getting their holds notifications and things like that. I never realized how many people receive text in Citrus County until that service was limited by the different network carriers. There was a change in the way they were doing things, so it meant that we couldn't do texting the way we traditionally had. So we went with this company, Patron Point, and we must send, 10, 15,000 texts through this. It also allowed us to create a digital newsletter, which Taylor's going to talk quite a bit more about. And it also brought the digital library card to our libraries as well, which has allowed digital access for anyone 18 or over. They get instant access to use our library system, and they can browse our digital resources, our databases, check out ebooks. And the nice thing about this, and I think, Taylor, I'm going to take this one a little bit, but we're noticing that people are getting their library cards when our libraries aren't open. So, which is kind of what we were hoping for, is reaching people that couldn't previously get to a library because maybe they're working, but it's people now that, in the evenings they want to read a book or they want to check something out on a Sunday, they're able to now get an instant card and then, use our digital services. So we're very happy with that one. All right, and then print copy scan. This is another one. This, out of all the things that I'm going to tell you about, is probably my favorite thing that we did this year. It sounds strange that being able to change our PC management system and offering printing was the thing that I was most excited about. But I can tell you this project was about 8 years in the making. So we spent about 8 years putting this together, trying to figure out how to make this work before I became director. Then when I became director, I decided this was one of the first things I was going to tackle. About 2 years later, I finally got it done. A lot of weird little hurdles that came about, but the end result for this is that people are now able to print wirelessly in our libraries. I know you've heard me talk about this at pretty much every meeting because it's just a wonderful thing that we finally got over the finish line. But people can now print wirelessly from their own devices within our library. They can print from home. It enables color printing. And you can see from our stats here that 75,000 pages were printed between April and September. So not even a full calendar year, and we had 75,000 pages run through our printers. And just over 10,000 people, unique users, have used our system since we started it. So it's filled a tremendous need.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Do you have a plan for when the pay by phone or credit card will be available? Because at the coastal region, I had to print copies because we had a lost dog.
Yes.
And then she was found like 30 minutes later after I printed a lot of copies to put flyers out. But that was one thing that I had to put cash in. Thank goodness I had cash.
Yes.
But just asking about that.
Pain.
That is something that I'm working on. That was part of the initial holdup before because we were trying to roll everything out all together. And as you can see, since April when we launched this, I still don't have the credit card option. That was one of our holdups. I am working on that as diligently as I can. Part of the hurdle is just who can access that. There's age restrictions as far as who can swipe and use digital payments that we're working through those hurdles. But I hope to have that early next year. But do remember that this took 8 years. So when I say early next year, it might be a little longer than that, but that is my hope.
Well, I will say the QR code, it was really easy.
Wonderful.
Even me being technically sound was having difficulties, and the staff was very helpful with it. So I do want to commend them on that.
Wonderful. That's great to hear. All right. So a couple other big projects. Through the help of the Board of County Commissioners, allocating some funding through ARPA funding, and then through this board, allocating and matching the $300,000 that the board provided through the U.S. Family Foundation, we were able to complete the Lakes Region renovation. So you'll see here we did a lot of upgrades at Lakes Region. I know pretty much all of you have been to the library and seen these changes, but we have a centralized circulation desk. We updated the lighting. We added new carpet tiles to make it easier to interchange those. We did some new painting. We added soft seating with power options in them for people that have asked for those things. And then we have also updated the youth room as well, made a lot of youth room changes there to expand the story time area and make line of sight a little bit easier there. And then we had our grand reopening to celebrate that, which is a very exciting day to be able to show off all the upgrades. We had a lot of positive comments about the changes and things that we've made. And we also added Coastal Region new Saturday hours. This was a big one for us that we started in January of 2025. Several years ago, the Coastal Region Library was closed on a Saturday, and it had been closed that way for a number of years. But through this renovation process, we knew we were adding all these additional features, and we wanted to be able to maximize the amount of time people could use these resources. So we were able to juggle some things around and open the library over at Crystal River from 9 to 4 on a Saturday. And we also added an hour to every other library as well on Saturdays. So the other libraries were previously open at 10 o'clock. We rolled that back to 9 o'clock to give better access to families and the working population. And then we have our Coastal Region renovation. We're pretty much finished with this one. We're just putting some final touches on there, but you can see it largely mirrors the Lakes Region Library. And I joke with some of the Lakes Region staff and some of the friends there to say that they are going to see some differences to the Coastal Region, a few little upgrades here and there, but it's because Lakes Region went first and we learned a few things along the way. But this one we also have the seating that we talked about. We have study rooms, we have new meeting spaces, and then one of the big features of this one that I think catches a lot of people's eyes that we had a mural painted there. This was a mural that was donated. The funds for this were donated by the Friends of the Library. They paid to have this mural put in our library, but it is a kind of a coastal kind of nature scene in the library, and it was done by an artist called William Mickey. He does a lot of the murals in Crystal River, so you'll see his work throughout there, and we were fortunate enough to secure him as our muralist for the Coastal Region Library. So you can't see the finished picture there, but if you stop by Coastal Region, you'll see the finished work there. All right, and we relaunched Booked. We used to have a fundraiser called Love Your Library. That took about a 4 or 5 year hiatus, but then we brought it back as Booked to be able to support those capital improvement projects that we just talked about, the Coastal Region and Lakes Region. This one, our first year, we had 230 people in attendance, and we raised just over $21,000, closer to 22, I believe, was our final number. But it was a really great way to show off all the highlights for the library and what all that money was used for. Summer reading, I know you all have seen this slide before, but just want to highlight this again. All the work that our youth team and our library staff put together. We set a reading goal of 500,000 minutes, and the community absolutely went beyond that, and we went over 540,000 minutes. Very, very well attended. Lots of kids engaged throughout the summer, which was our goal, getting kids reading, getting books in their hands, getting them excited about reading and staying engaged over the summer before they go back to school. And you'll see a couple pictures of some of our different programs. We had a science program where they had like a dry ice kind of fog in the middle there, and a lot of other really engaging things too. Volunteer appreciation. We can't do everything that we do without all of our volunteers. We're fortunate to have a very, very strong group of volunteers that come and support our libraries every single day. They volunteer over 18,000 hours in a year for us. And you'll see on the left there's some pictures of our volunteer award winners that we kind of named as our outstanding volunteers for the year. And then on the right are our volunteer coordinators, and then our literacy services librarian as well. They put that event together for us. We have our C4Con program, and this program is headed by our instruction and research librarians. They're on the right there, but this program brought in just over 500 people to come to our library and celebrate various fandoms from Minecraft to Mario to Star Wars. You name it, they had something there for people. And the picture on the left there is an artist panel where all the participants are learning to draw kind of cartoony graphic novel style pictures. Very well attended and just something unique for our community. And I think that's it as far as the fiscal year updates.
So, question, do we have an update on the children's restricted access card, kind of like where we're at with that?
Yes. So we do have an update on that one. That will be coming to the board in December. I'll have a full presentation on everything for that one, but we currently are in the testing phase of it. We've designed the card, we've ordered the card, we're waiting for it to come in, but we're doing extensive testing now to make sure that when you scan a card, when you select a book, when you select an item, what does it do? Does it block access to all these different things? So we're doing heavy testing right now behind the scenes to make sure that it is as locked as we intend it to be. But I will have an update at the December, what probably will be the December 2nd meeting if we vote that way. And then that should go live in December or early January.
Okay.
Do we have a date for the grand reopening? Are we doing that for Crystal River?
Yes. So that is
Is that
December.
part of yours? I'm sorry, I won't steal it.
It's December 4th. We're going to have an opening, but we have a slide on that. Yes, the grand reopening. Does anybody have any questions for me about our kind of year review there?
I think that's it.
Great celebration points.
Thank you. All right, so I've got the next agenda item, library director's update. So a couple updates for you. We talked a little bit about, I know I sent emails about interlibrary loan. That service did end with our library system and throughout the state. We don't really have any current options to bring something like that back, but I am still exploring that because it is something that was very important to libraries throughout the state, being able to access millions of resources throughout the state. We could borrow books from all these different libraries. So still working on that one. We already talked about BookPage. I think we did that one. Restricted access card, I mentioned that one. So that one is coming at the December meeting. I do also want to mention that we have what's going to be coming up, and you'll hear more about this again in the December meeting as well, is the community needs assessment. You may have all heard me talk about this at some point a little bit, that we're going to be selecting a lot of public input or seeking a lot of public input over the next 6 to 8 months to find out the direction and where the community wants a library to go in the next, not just year, 5 years, 10 years, but all the way out 20 years. What does the community want to see in our libraries? Where do you want to see us to grow, and what things would you like in your library? From very small things to the larger pieces as well, if you want more meeting spaces, if you want different shifts in things. So we'll be asking for a lot of input, but I'll have a full presentation on that in December as well. But I wanted to get you all kind of thinking or knowing that is coming. The Friends of the Citrus County Library System, the Focals Group, they had their mega book sale. Recently, they just raised over $40,000. Did you have that one too, Taylor?
Oh, man.
Okay, well, it's worth repeating. And then the Homosassa Friends, I do want to mention that they have their book sale on November 13th at the Homosassa Library, which I have a feeling Taylor had as well. All right. My next update is going to be on staffing. Just a couple quick things about staffing. So we hired a new youth librarian for Homosassa Library. She'll be starting in a couple weeks. And other staffing update for you. This one's kind of a bigger announcement, I think. Many of you may already know this, but in case you don't know, Debbie Riley is going to be retiring. As region manager, she'll be retiring on March 6th. So that is a big change that we're working through right now, I would say. As all of you know, most of you have worked with Debbie in many capacities, and how much she gives of herself to the library and the community as a whole. I can tell you that we're going to miss her guidance and support, everything that she does for the community. I know she'll still be around, but it's something that, like I said, we're working through right now to figure out how that works and what we can do to balance and adjust. But I can tell you, working at the library for just over 11 years now, I personally am truly grateful for all of the support that Debbie's given to me over the last years, from whenever I started as an instruction research librarian to even being the director today. I know I have Debbie's support, and that makes my job a whole lot easier. So thank you, Debbie. All right, and those are my updates.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'll just say this. Debbie is an asset to the county library system, and probably the single most recruiter of library cards out of anybody I know. She has her little travel bag, and if you don't have a library card, she will get you, which I imagine now that we have it where you can do it online, that might make her life easier. But so in addition to just what she does normally with the library day to day, which I don't even know the full extent of all of that. I'm sure you all will or do, and you certainly will. But also the involvement she has in the community is truly extraordinary. So, which I imagine you'll still be a little involved in the community. But we appreciate you, Debbie. I just want to say from me, I absolutely appreciate you, and I'm sure the board all shares the same sentiment. And then now, would anybody like to say anything with regards to director's report, anything?
In regards to Debbie specifically?
You can do that, absolutely.
On that? You're staying, right?
Yeah, can we have a motion that we cancel her retirement? I don't think it works that way.
Help Mr. Chang find 4 or 5 people to take her one
Right.
place.
Well, busy little. She's gonna have to find. He'll have to find another drill sergeant. That's exactly what you need. Those of you that don't know, she was a drill sergeant in the Navy. If you didn't know that, and probably still can do that if she needed to. All right. Anything else? Anybody? No? All right, so now we'll move on to public relations and branch updates. If you've got anything to say at all, Taylor.
I have nothing to say. Adam stole all my thunder. No, he didn't. Not today. One thing that he alluded to is that, yes, we do have our grand reopening celebration is coming up on December the 4th. It is at 10 o'clock at the Coastal Region Library. Unfortunately, I forgot to print your invitations, so those will be coming to you in the mail. But there are actual invitations coming to you, so that's fun. Normally, I hand deliver them. Look at that. See, it's like you knew already because I made a Facebook event a couple weeks ago, and it's there. So we are very excited to be able to welcome the city of Crystal River and our community there around the Coastal Region Library into our building, and to give tours and to celebrate with everyone. Because as someone who did work at Coastal, I know Adam and I can both attest to the renovation conversation that was always kind of far off in the future. It's very exciting to see the renovation completed, almost completed, and so we're both thrilled. But that is happening there. Wow, he missed a lot of things in his update over here, stealing everybody else's thunder, but that's okay. And then, as you guys have seen, we do have our Tides and Tales event coming up on February the 28th. We will keep reminding you of this every meeting as we get closer and closer to the event itself. At our next meeting in December, we will have ticket packets available and sponsorship packets available. And so I know Bob, unfortunately, is not at this meeting today. And so he'll have more updates for you as he is kind of our committee chair for that event. Okay, my regular update. So at our last meeting, we were about midway through our digital book club title, which was The 5-Year Lie. So we ended this book club checkout with 414 checkouts, which broke the record from our last highest number of checkouts, which was about 380, I believe. And so this one was the last of our Friends Group sponsored ones. We found that running these book clubs over long weekends, we did see an increase in checkouts. And so we were trying to kind of make sure we could hit that long Labor Day weekend for people. And so we did see that increase in checkouts. And so we were very excited to kind of close out the year with a bang for that selection. So we are currently running Citrus Reads with The Last Heir to Blackwood Library. It is a novel that is set in post-World War I England, and we currently have more than 80 checkouts already. That was yesterday afternoon when I checked, and we know that checkouts always happen overnight, and so that is one of those titles that you can check out with no holds and no wait list through Libby. And so this one is only a 2-weeker, and so it runs through November the 4th. It'll be available. Just a quick kind of wrap up from Library Card Sign Up Month. We did 935 new cards in the month of September. And so a huge portion of that is with our partnership with the school district and us being able to get applications out into the hands of our kindergarten students and their families. They're then able to complete the application either online or they can fill out the form, return it to school, and then our youth librarians go back and pick those up. And so we have kind of transitioned over the years, but we now mail all of those library cards to the kiddos. We very specifically note that if mom or dad elects to get a card as well, that envelope is still made out to the student because it is their library card. Mom and dad just kind of tacked their information on there at the end. And so we have loved getting to work with the schools for as many years as we have. And it's been a really great program to run. We also renewed more than 800 of our current cardholders in the month of September, which is a huge number for us. Over the years, it's been hard sometimes to make sure people who remind them that they had a library card to come back and see us. And so we are really working through some of the options with Patron Point to be able to remind people, hey, you have a library card. We've updated and changed some things and you're able to come in still. One of the promotions that we do run with our friends at the library is to do a gas card giveaway. And so that giveaway, we were able to give out 4 library cards this year, 2 to current card holders and 2 to new card holders. And we had over 1,000 entrants into that giveaway for the month of September. So just some quick Patron Point numbers. I know Adam took a little bit of this information in his portion of the presentation, but these were updated yesterday afternoon. So yesterday we had 549 digital card holders at about 4 o'clock. I'm highly confident that that is now over 550 because, as Adam mentioned, we do see a large number of those applicants come through in our hours when our physical buildings are closed. Something else to note that I was very excited to see when I looked at this update was that in that 20 to 30 and 30 to 40 age range, you can see that those are our 2 highest quantities of card holders who are getting these digital cards. That accounts for 235 of that 549 cards, so over half of them. We are almost half of them. We are thrilled to see that number. We knew kind of leading into putting this program into place that was kind of our target for these digital cards, to try to get the working individuals who can't necessarily make it during our open hours but still want to access our services and resources, to get them access to cards. And so that is definitely working and we are thrilled about it. And then this is just a little breakdown by cities that we have listed throughout the county. And so one area that kind of surprised us was the high number in Homosassa. Typically, we expected Inverness to be high, and the Beverly Hills, Citrus Springs, Dunellen area is usually high because that's where the bulk of the growth is. But Homosassa was also very high.
We read too.
Okay, I didn't say you didn't, Justin. And you're not in this number because you already have a card. See? Like, you're there.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so the other portion of what Patron Point is able to do is our newsletters. And so one of the big things that people love to receive their newsletters for are our upcoming bestsellers lists. And so for those of you who don't subscribe to the upcoming bestsellers, that is a collection of 40 titles that typically have the newest Patterson, the newest Conley, all of the very prolific authors that are writing the new books. Those tend to have theirs. They usually will span, if there's new biographies, autobiographies written, they tend to have some of the nonfictions, but typically they are very prolific authors that are there in that upcoming bestsellers list. And so we have, I believe at last count, over 11,000 patrons are subscribed to that list. It is our most opened outside of Notice's email at almost 50%, which is a crazy high, yes, it's a crazy high number for an open rate for an email because those people have been longtime subscribers. If that email does not come out on the 25th of the month, you better believe that we are receiving suggestions and messages and notes from the regular subscribers who are asking, where's our email? We want our bestsellers list email so that we can put our books that we want on hold. And so that was kind of the very first newsletter that we needed to reconstitute. And so, Lenora, I know you had mentioned another list. I believe you were thinking of our upcoming bestsellers list that is printed. We do send out the email, but we also have a physical list that's available in the branches that they print out, and they will print out a few months worth of the lists for people to be able to grab. There's also a QR code on there that links directly to that list in the catalog, so you can scan that and go right to the list if you didn't see it come through in your email. So we do have those. We also have a DVD list. Yeah. I know, people really like their DVDs. They really do. I know, it's crazy. But DVDs, those are also very popular. We do other newsletters as well, which includes our Kids Events newsletter, which was started a few years ago. We have a new newsletter that we are starting this upcoming November, which is adult events. We've heard from a lot of our patrons that they want to know what the big kind of hot topic programs are that are happening at each library every month. And so we'll be sending those out starting next month. Good. And the most recent one that we started is from the director's desk. And so that is a monthly update newsletter that will be coming out roughly the first week of every month. We're still finalizing that exact timeline for every one of those emails. But each one of them will have a note from Adam at the beginning, kind of giving an update for what's coming in that month, something big that we have planned. I know some information with the community needs assessment, as he mentioned, will be in one of those. And then just a couple of those big events that are upcoming, if there's library closures for holidays, that kind of thing will all be included in that monthly email. That also had a very high open rate that I think was over 30% as well for that very first one. So we are seeing that people want information from us. They want these updates, and we are trying to balance making sure we're not sending a ton of emails, but making sure we're communicating with our patrons with the information that they have expressed that they're looking for. And then, yes, the Friends Fall book sales. If you would like to take a picture of the sales updates, you can do that because Adam already gave you all these updates, but that's okay. As he mentioned, they did raise more than $40,000 at this most recent sale. So that was Focals, their mega sale. And I don't remember if he mentioned that this is their highest amount raised since 2012. So they have, in the last few sales, sat between 30 to 35,000, especially post-COVID, coming through those sales with that amount. So to hit 40 was just phenomenal. I think, Debbie, they said they did 17,000 on opening night, and like the current of through all of the volunteers on Saturday was, well, this is going to be a good sale. Like, that's the most we've done on an opening night in years. And so that just kind of kept the energy flowing, I think, through all of the volunteers throughout the weekend, because it is a long weekend for our volunteers, and they do a great job. And then our Homosassa friends will also be hosting their sale in the fall. That is in just a couple of weeks. You will start seeing some more promotions and things about that. And one of the updates that I had for Focals, so you may have seen the post if you follow our Friends of the Library's Facebook page. We had a number of students who were book sale bucks recipients through our Reader of the Week winners come in and cash in on their book sale bucks. Those kids were so excited to get to come in and pick their books and show off the books that they had selected. It tickled our friends and our volunteers who were there. Some of them were newer volunteers, and they were like, what is this? And I'm like, it's their coupon, it's their certificate. They get to pick their books and come in and do some things. And so they were thrilled. I kept receiving pictures throughout the weekend of all of the kids who had come in to select their books. And so that is something that we've seen grow over the years, and we're thrilled about. Okay, that's all I had now. Any questions? Maybe? No?
All right. So we're going to move on to old business, agenda item G1. I do want to ask one question. and I apologize for not catching this earlier. Were we not to review the form that we were working on in this meeting? I don't. I mean, am I wrong on that, or
I think it got pushed. We pushed it last meeting
to this meeting?
One, but I think I had good catch because I didn't. I just realized, yeah, it was supposed to be there.
Okay.
On the agenda.
So.
We need to move that to the December agenda and make it an agenda item.
Okay, is that everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So this is for the rubric?
The rubric.
Come back, okay.
Correct.
The one we're supposed to use for the.
Correct, and.
I filled it all out, by the way, and then Adam said, oh, you don't need to do it.
Yeah.
And so let me just say where that could have been confused is because we were using that rubric essentially or had it available if you wanted to review book page. Then because book page was pulled by the county commission, it no longer was necessary to bring that before this meeting. And that could be how that got missed in there. So no harm, no foul, but we do want to make sure that we continue on with our business. We don't want to drop business. So the review of that particular rubric will push to the December meeting as old business. Is that, everybody okay with that?
Agreed.
Okay. All right. So that being said, old business, G1, date change request for December 2025 meeting. Director Chang mentioned that the original date was not good for him, correct? You would not be available. And as we can all agree that having the director here during these meetings is essential. And so it was mentioned possibly, and I apologize, I'm not looking at a calendar, but December the 16th. And then we kind of talked that may be a little difficult because it's close to the holidays. And then the next date was before
the 2nd, December 2nd?
December 2nd. Okay.
I believe, Chair, we were also looking to do that in the evening. Is that correct?
Not that meeting.
Not that one, okay.
Right. I think that is with regards to H1, though, just so we're clear.
Okay.
That would be.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if we were going to trial run that one or not from the discussion.
I don't think so. That's not how I recall it, but I could be wrong, and please correct me if I am.
I could be wrong, too.
And so with regards to that meeting date, anybody have any suggestions on that? Did December 2nd work for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. I do not feel like that requires a motion or a thing. I think that's just pretty much a consensus. So December 2nd works. Okay. All right. So now we'll move on to new business, and this is item H1, which would be, I'm sorry, not H1. I meant H2 what I just said. H1 is a different thing. CCLS, Citrus County Library System, everybody knows what that means. Annual Plan of Service, fiscal year 2026. Director Chang, you want to go ahead and talk about that?
Sure. Every year we put together an annual plan of service outlining what we hope to accomplish throughout the year. It goes along with our strategic plan, but this is what we're hoping to work through in a year. And it breaks down each kind of section within our library, from youth to adult literacy to instruction and research, circulation, and it has some bullet points of things, again, that we're trying to get through this year. I can answer any specific questions that you have about this, but just to give you kind of the short kind of condensed version of this, what I'm looking to really work through this year is expanding our digital collection, continuing to develop early literacy collection programs and resources, identifying training opportunities for staff at all levels, community engagement to assist with planning for future growth, and evaluating public services needs to maximize resources. So all kind of those bullet points all fit in those kind of headings. And some of those things are like the restricted access card will be coming, the community needs assessment, building our digital collection a little bit more. All those sorts of things I've kind of wrapped in those headings.
Director, do you have, can you give us kind of an idea of your community needs assessment, how that will look, or are you still working on that and that will be finalized?
So still working on it, but I can give you a little bit of a heads up on that. Sometimes it's difficult with this when we only meet every other month to get you these updates when I don't have everything finished yet. But essentially what's going to happen is we're going to do a survey. So it's going to go out to anybody who'd like to take the survey. So there'll be a survey option. There'll also be some in-person sessions as well, where you can actually come to one of our libraries or one of these locations, meet with a facilitator, and they're going to kind of walk through some questions about what you might like to see in the library. There'll be various activities like that throughout the year.
Okay. And I imagine just like
throughout the year?
Well, throughout the about 6 months or so, the in-person sessions will all happen in the course of a week. There'll be 12 of them altogether. Some of those will be staff-driven and some will be for the public, but we'll have 12 sessions. They'll happen in the span of a week. But the survey will be open for a little bit longer, and then we'll be doing some other activities throughout the year through outreaches where we'll get input from the public as well. So the whole process lasts about 6 to 8 months.
I imagine all that'll be published and
Yes, they produce a report at the end, and then we can look at that and draw some conclusions on what we want to do with the library kind of going forward again for the next 1, 5, 10, and 20 years.
Okay. Everyone has a copy of H1 in your packet. Anyone have any questions with regards to that? Director Chang? Good? All right. Moving on from there, we'll go to H2, which is what, with regards to 2026 meeting dates. And so those are, again, you should have a copy of all of that, the proposed meeting dates. The only thing is how I understood it, and I could be wrong, is we talked about potentially June the 23rd meeting, the June meeting, being available in the evening. So, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we talked about 5 o'clock was the time. Does that sound reasonable? Okay. And I do know that there were potential challenges with regards to that regarding this room. What, do you have anything you'd like to say on that?
So I'm still working on that just because of how open-ended these meetings are. They could be as little as 2 hours. This one we're almost heading into hour 3 of this one. So it's difficult to know how long the meeting will last, how long I can reserve the room for. When it's during the day like this, it's not impossible to do an evening meeting by any means, but when it's during the day, all the staff are present already. But when it's the evening, I need to figure out how I can coordinate that with all the necessary people because all these meetings are recorded. There's staff in the building, after hours, things like that. So just trying to make sure I get the right pieces before we set on how all this works.
Okay. I do believe there was enough public input from everyone, as well as I believe there was enough support from the board to suggest that we had one meeting in the evening. So I think we are the majority. I feel like we're all in agreement, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that we want to pursue an evening meeting. Is that correct? So that people who are working will have the opportunity to do it. Now, here's one of the suggestions, and I realize I just kind of cut off on that, but is we did talk about potentially maybe having it in the library at one of the meeting rooms in the library, possibly coastal region or lakes region. I don't know if it'd accommodate the room. I don't know. But
If you're going to do this at night, you're going to need more space, right?
I would have
Less.
I would agree with that.
I do have another question. If you do it in June, people have started their summer vacations. They might be gone. I would think that it might be best done sometime during the school calendar.
Okay. Anybody else? I mean, I don't disagree with that. Please comment, whatever you think, because this is a.
Does it have to be Tuesdays?
I don't know.
Traditionally, they've been on Tuesdays, but I don't think there's any. I'd have to follow up on that if you're suggesting a different day. That's kind of where this gets tricky when kind of coming back to all of this information because it changes from meeting to meeting what we're looking for. But I can certainly look and see if that's an option. I don't know any reason why it wouldn't be allowed.
So, and I hear your point on that. I think we need to make a decision today. So that way we're not kicking this down the road continually and just going back and forth with so much ambiguity. So the main thing we need to know is this is a board that is governed by, that has been established with the governance of sunshine law. So that obviously, public input, press can be all of that. I'm not so sure that it has to be recorded. That's something that we need to talk with Denise Lynn about and find out that. But I hear the point with regards to school calendar. I would agree with that. Would anyone have any suggestions other than June? What would we say, April?
When's Easter?
It's
the August one here, school has just begun, for a month. I would think that the August one might be the better.
and that would give us more time to get all of the details wrapped up.
I agree.
Does that sound right? Anybody have any objections to the August meeting?
That's my husband's birthday. An evening meeting might not go well.
Yeah, my wife's birthday is just before that, and my right, I get it. But, we could find all kinds of negatives with all sorts of things. I'm just saying, I think, we keep talking about it, we just need, yes? Well, that's a good point, too. It always gets more complicated.
Once we settle on a date, I can look at all those pieces.
Okay,
If
so
know
why
if
don't
we're
we say
doing it on
this?
a Tuesday on one of these days.
Okay, so how about we're going to pursue August the 25th at 5 p.m., location to be determined, and subject to availability based upon BOCC. Okay? Does that sound right? Everybody okay? Yes. All right, we have a consensus on that? Okay. Now, with regards to the other meeting dates, what do you all say? Everybody, all the others look pretty decent? Now, I would also say that we've had, and in the times past, the flexibility to adjust a date if needed along during the year. We've done that. We just did that, So based upon that, I see that this looks good, right? Everybody okay? All right. So we're good with that. Okay, getting back. I gotta find my place again. All right. All right, we already covered H3. Board member updates. Anybody have any board member updates?
No.
Good? All right.
Wait a minute. I do want to say that I'm friends of the Crystal River Friends Group, and the renovation in that building is just gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's bright. It's big. It's wonderful. And I thank this board and the other boards that did give us money to do that. It's just turned out fabulous. It's going to be great. And you need to be at the grand opening when you get your invitation in the mail.
Absolutely. If at all possible. I realize sometimes that's not possible, but I think it's important. It's such a big day, and we all have been a part of that, and it is an exciting moment. Okay, anything else? All right, so next meeting will be December the 2nd at 9 a.m. right here in this room. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion.
Motion. Yeah.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing there's none, we're adjourned.